Now we're going to move on to question 11 to 15. Question 11 states that the table below shows the consumer price index of a country over a period of time. Which one of the following can be deduced from the data? So we've got our CPI figures. Throughout all of these periods, CPI is rising. It's going from 98 to 100, 100 to 110, 110 to 120, and 120 to 125. That means through the whole period, inflation is rising. So let's go through the answer, the options, and see which one's correct. Right, so A, the inflation rate was the same in 2011 and 2012. That's not the case because it's index numbers. So our 100 is our index. So actually, the inflation rate is actually higher in 2011 than it is in 2012 because that is a 10% increase. So it'll be 110 minus 100 over 100 equals 10%. But if we do 120 minus 110 over 110, that gives us a figure that is slightly less than 10%. If it was 10%, it will give us a figure of 121, which it doesn't, which is 120. So it's not that one. There was deflation in 2009. We can't actually tell because we don't have the year before. If we had 2008, we could see if there was. So we can't tell that. And then, like I said earlier, throughout the whole period, prices increased. To see the average price level increased each year. So that's got to be the answer. We'll just check that D is wrong. The inflation rate was the highest in 2013, and yeah, that's not the case. So yeah, the answer for this question is C. So now let's move on to question 12. All other things being equal, a rise in a country's exchange rate will most likely A, reduce unemployment and increase economic growth, B, reduce inflation and reduce a deficit on the current accounts of balance of payments, C is reduce a positive output gap and reduce inflation, or D, which is increase a negative output gap and reduce a deficit on the current accounts and balance and payments. So we're looking at what the effect of a rise in a country's exchange rate will be. So we'll just write down the formula for AD, which is C plus I plus G plus X minus M. So a rise in our country's exchange rate would make our imports relatively cheaper. So that will increase imports, and it will make our exports relatively more expensive. So it will decrease our exports. So this means that AD actually falls. So we need to see which one of these shows AD falling. So A, reduce unemployment and increase economic growth. AD's fallen, so actually employment may increase. So that's not right. B, reduce inflation and reduce the deficit on current accounts. If anything, the deficit on current accounts at the back of balance of payment is actually going to increase because of the exchange rate, so it won't be that. C is reduce the positive output gap, which it could because AD's fallen, depending on where our economy is. So AD's fallen, so the output gap will either decrease or maybe go into a negative one, so it's going to reduce it. And reduce inflation, which it could do, because it will do, because if we have demand pull inflation, the decrease of AD will actually cause prices to fall. So that looks like it's going to be the likely answer. D, increase a negative output gap and reduce a deficit on the current accounts of balance of payments. It could increase the negative output gap, but it will increase the deficit. It will not reduce. So it's not that. So the answer to that one is C. So now we've got question 13. The diagram below shows an economy's aggregate demand and long-run aggregate supply curves. OY is the initial equilibrium of real output. So our initial equilibrium is here. OY of output at price level of P1. Which one of the following combinations of event is likely to lead to a new equilibrium level of output of OY2? So we're looking at something that's going to reduce our long run capacity of the economy and something that causes AD to fall. So A asks, event 1 is a fall in the quantity and productivity of labour in the economy. That would cause our LRS curve to shift that way. So that is correct for that one. And event 2 is an increase in imports relative to exports. That would be the case as well, because if individuals are preferring to consume imports and foreigners are not demanding our goods, then as AD is C plus I plus G plus X plus M is going to increase and X will decrease. M has a negative effect and X has a positive effect, so that's going to cause AD to fall. So the answer to this one is A. I'll just go through why the other ones won't be right. So B is an increase in government expenditure on education and training. That would actually cause our LAS to move the other way, to move outwards. So it's not going to be this one. An increase in the cost of consumer credit. That would cause AD to move from AD1 to AD2. A decline in factor mobility of the economy. That will cause the LRAS curve to shift in, because our factors can't get to where the work is. And a fall in the exchange rate. If there was a fall in the exchange rate, then AD would actually shift the other way. So it's not that one. And D, greater use of new technology across the economy. If there was new technology, implies that we can produce more, so the LRAS would shift here rather than here. So it's not going to be that. And a rise in indirect taxes. So the only answer for this one is A. Let's move on to 14. The accelerator principle illustrates the relationship between investment and the rate of change of. So A, unemployment, B, prices, C, government expenditure, D, national income. The accelerator principle, the only way to say this is it looks at the relationship between investment and national income. The idea is to see how the rate of investment influences national income. It's not going to be unemployment, it won't be prices, and it won't be government expenditure. So it's with the accelerator principle, it's just something you've just got to remember, really, and it's just national income. So now question 15. The diagrams below show aggregate demand and short-run aggregate supply. All other things being equal, which one of the diagrams, A, B, C, or D, shows the most likely effects of an increase in government expenditure financed by an increase in indirect taxes? So looking at an increase in government expenditure, so an increase in government expenditure will cause AD to shift to the left or outwards. And if it's financed by indirect taxes, then it will cause SRAS to shift to the left. Sorry, this should shift to the right, because we're increasing AD, sorry. So I'll say that again. So an increase in government expenditure will increase AD, and this is represented by a shift to the right, so AD will shift to the right. So we're looking for a SRAS shifting to the left and AD shifting to the right, and this is shown by A, because AD shifts here and our SRAS shifts there. If we go to B, our AD is correct, but our SRAS is actually going the other way, so that's wrong. And then for C, AD goes the wrong way, and SRAS does go the right way, and D, both go the wrong way. So the only answer to this one is A.